Work that I do now, then I really do frame it as culture change, in specific political culture change. And so I've had to really think about how to be effective at that. And so it's the work that I've done personally. If I'm going to in any way inspire or catalyze anything to happen outside of me, then I've had to really, the question is what's been going on inside of me. And yeah, I came from a very closed place, closed-hearted, closed-minded, judgmental place. I was right. I came from the Christian right. I knew what was right and what was wrong. And when people were wrong, they weren't just wrong, they were bad. And they were dangerous. In a lot of cases, I judged hippies and liberals as dangerous to this country because they represented for me something like chaos and confusion and possibly disloyalty. And so these were old wounds that I had that I wasn't even aware of. That was how I operated my political life. And I just had a huge wake-up call. And that wake-up call, losing marriage, campaign, reputation, business, going to a place of like totally being humbled in a way where financially humbled, socially humbled, losing my friends, and then asking deep questions. The question, who am I and why am I here? Those were the two questions I started asking in 2001. I sat in a cabin all alone, feeding a wood stove. I was basically had almost nothing left in terms of my old life, saying, who am I and why am I here? And that began a deeper inquiry. And that's where it's led me now. And I think at some level, this country, through the crisis, because that was a crisis, it was a personal crisis. I was 39 years old, and it was a personal crisis, almost like a near-death experience. Death of the ego, death of my reputation, death of everything that I thought was important. And this country, feels to me, is on the brink of a similar type transformation. And we're kind of beginning to go through it, it feels like. And so if we ask ourselves, who are we and why are we here? Do we have a purpose as a country? Who are we in our essence? We're not Germans, we're not all like the same blood. We're not a tribe like that, we are a mixture. And we're organized around a certain set of principles and values. Freedom, equality, unity, self-governance, to name a couple. And so my work is, if this culture is really going to change, we have to get back in touch with those two questions. Who are we and why are we here? So to stimulate a dialogue, a deeper conversation. And when people think about those things, just as I thought about those things, they all of a sudden realize, wow, we are much greater, much more powerful, in other words, spiritually powerful, much more creative, innovative, much more connected than we think we are, because we think that there's those people over there and those people over there. And we realize, wow, we're all in the same boat together. So a lot of this is common sense, but it's been my personal journey to kind of wake up and do the best I can to model it. Work across the political divide, so I sit with real progressives. I'm talking hardcore progressives that hate George Bush, for example, or open-hearted people that really want to serve the planet. So I've been in those circles. And the word America, when I say I'm an American, I was an American. And they said, wait a minute, there's Native Americans, there's South Americans, are you an American? And I said, well, I'm meaning the United States of America. It's kind of like this. And that's an attitude, unfortunately, that I grew up with. And it means my country, and it means love of my country. And that is a very deep tradition in history. Dulce et decorum est pro patria mori. It's sweet and noble to die for your country is an old noble vow that was made because of your love of place, love of this country. And so yeah, I'm very connected to that, and I'm very connected to communities that are very connected to the love of this place. Unfortunately, the American dream is what defines us now somehow. And that was corrupted, and if you think about it, back in the 1930s, the American dream was defined as 2 chickens in every pot, 2 cars in every garage. think it was in 1940s or 50s, I remember, but it was an advertising campaign to get Americans to think that the American dream was 2 chickens in every pot, 2 cars in every garage, a house, a mortgage, and I've got the American dream. And I lived the American dream. I am the example of the American dream. I came from, my mother was a nurse, my dad was an engineer, we didn't have a lot of money. I was educated, I went all the way through graduate school. I started a business from scratch and built it up to a couple $1 million business. I had everything in my community, I was well respected, and I thought I had the American dream. And so the deeper American dream is the one that I'm waking up to. It's a totally different American dream. It's an American dream of peace, inner peace. American dream of self-governance. I govern myself, you govern yourself, we govern together. We're not governed, we are not subjects. We are not voters, we are not consumers, we are not fans, or we are not spectators. We are citizens in a democratic republic. So to wake up to who we are, and to wake up to the fact that this American dream, a lot of blood, a lot of patriots, true patriots, love of country, men and women that love this place, have put their lives for generations on the line to create what we have. And to corrupt it by calling the American dream a big job or a big house is really bullshit. It is total bullshit. And people need to wake up to the fact that, oh my God, I bought this bullshit. And it's mainly since the Second World War, and it's mainly through the advertising and the hypnotic effect of television and media that says to succeed, quote, succeed, is to accumulate things. And people have lost track of, wait a minute, who are we as a country? What do we stand for? What are our values? And people will give away freedom, they'll give away so much in order to get some sort of material security. It's a very dangerous thing. Our founders were extremely aware of this. And they were like, you need to build this country based on principles, because principles are inviolable. Principles work. And so it's to start the conversation about what are these principles. And they don't have to be my principles. I just say, what are your principles? You know, the principles are like, this building is stood by principle. In other words, these beams have to be vertical, they have to be true, and then the building holds up. That's a principle of construction. And what are the values? What value means, what's important to me? Principles and values. If we have an inquiry into those things, we'll remind ourselves, oh my God, we're living out of alignment with the original vision of this country. And therefore, when you're out of alignment, you're out of integrity. Lack of integrity equals disintegration. That's what I found in my personal life. I lied, I cheated, and I stole to gain political office. I was willing to cut every corner. I was willing to take money from anybody. I was willing to keep my mouth shut. Bob Dole, Newt Gingrich campaigning for me when I stood on a stage next to Senator Dole, and it was like I'd say whatever I needed to say to get elected and to get the money. And I realized I lost my integrity. Lack of integrity equals disintegration. My life disintegrated. It lost its integrity, and it collapsed. A building that loses its integrity collapses. A country that loses its integrity collapses. It's a principle. It always happens. Doesn't just sometimes happen, it always happens. And we are disintegrating as a country. In a divine way, in a larger picture sense, maybe this needs to happen. It's a wake-up call. Pay attention. Why did the building stand in the first place? Maybe there's a new building that we want to build, but right now I'm seeking to get people to wake up to the fact that we're in a period of disintegration, and we have the opportunity to be creative about what we want to create next, as opposed to try to fix and band-aid the financial system or the political system or the education system or the health system or the system of systems, trying to fix and band-aid and go back to the 1950s. Why can't we just create something new?